Good afternoon and welcome to CELADON Pharmaceuticals PLC results for the 6 months ended 30th of June 2022 investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged, can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated in the right-hand corner of your screen. Just click Q&A, scroll to the bottom, type your question and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question received during the meeting itself. Have the company review all questions submitted today and we publish responses where appropriate to do so. Before we begin, I'd like to submit the following poll. I'd now like to hand you over to James Short, CEO, and Alan Rowley, CFO. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to explain a little bit more in detail around CELADON Pharmaceutical. So as the slide says, we are one of the UK's leader in breakthrough cannabis medicine-based medicines. Since legalisation of medicinal cannabis in the UK, the back end of 2018, we've spent the last 3 years working very closely with regulators, also fitting out our current facility. If I take you through the pillars there, one of the key things that we feel that one of the milestones is the fact that we've managed to keep that first leader advantage, the first mover advantage. The other milestone that we've hit is we've managed to raise up to 20 million of funding to date. That is over and above the just short of £30 million that's been invested in our current facility that we inherited when we took that facility on. One of the other real milestones was managing to be admitted onto AIM. We are one of only 2 companies that AIM have allowed onto their exchange. Previously, that was GW Pharma, who sold out the back end of last year to Jazz Pharmaceuticals. So what do we do? When I co-founded the business, I soon realized that we had to be a fully integrated business. And what I mean by that was we had to really start at the beginning, i.e. the growing side of it, so we were in control of our destiny. So we have the capability, and you'll see later on in the slides, to grow the product, extract it, and produce an end product to sell to the marketplace. What we also did middle of last year, we took a majority shareholding stake in a company called LVL Health. This is a research clinic that focuses and specializes currently in chronic pain. We now have gone live on that trial. It is the only MHRA conditionally approved trial in the UK to date. It's actually, the protocol is on .gov website. Since we've been live, the patient feedback that we're getting is incredible. The trial has been designed so that we can collect the necessary data that the regulators have been asking the industry for since legalization. With the objective there is, subject to that data being satisfactory, the overall objective is that we can reimbursement for the product moving forward. Not just from the NHS, i.e. NICE, but also hopefully from the insurance companies as well. Our other core pillar is breakthrough R&D. And what I mean by that is it's not necessarily R&D around the genetics of the cannabinoid, it's actually research and development around the delivery mechanisms. So, if we start at what we tend to do is start at the patient, understand the disease, then work out the delivery mechanism to help with that disease. So there are 3 core pillars. Just to finish off on the R&D one, we are a shareholder of a clinical trial in a company called Kingdom Therapeutics. They're doing a full clinical trial on autism. And what we like to do is partner with companies like this, whereby instead of us doing the whole trial ourselves, we like to partner. And then if the trial is successful, it means it's a CELADON product that will supply to that company moving forward. So the global market, as you can see, it is a very expanded and growing market. And the key points to take there is if we look at Australia, since legalization, they have done an incredible job. The growth that's happening in the pharmaceutical medical space in Australia is going really well. Israel, they're, to me, some of the leaders in research and development, and Germany. And the reason why these countries are managing to do well is, people keep asking me, how come the UK has not opened up yet? But if you look at the dates of legalization in these other countries, The UK is effectively 2 years behind where they are. So we're very, very confident that the UK market will open up. The other question we get asked a lot is why are we focusing on chronic pain at the moment? When we looked at the marketplace, first of all, we identified there was clear evidence that a cannabinoid works for certain forms of chronic pain. We then looked at the addressable market, and as it says there, over 40% of the UK population have pain in some shape or form, of which 8 million of those have chronic pain. So if we look at those numbers, our current facility, which is a very large facility, if that was fully operational today, we could only service circa 50,000 patients out of that 8 million from our existing facility. And that will give us circa 90 million revenue. So you can see there alone, it's a huge addressable market. Some of the things that we're also seeing, we had an idea we'd see this, but not as quick as we have, is on the trial that we are currently running, the patient feedback that we're getting, and this isn't just data feedback, it's feedback that I'm actually calling some of the patients, our nurses in contact with them constantly. The reduction that we are seeing in those patients of coming off the typical medication they're on. So an average patient is on between 15 and 30 tablets a day. Since being on our trial, some of them are actually having down to 0 medication. Some are still on 3 or 4 tablets a day. So for me, that's a win-win for everybody. The other markers that we're seeing is the quality of life that these people are having. So it's quite a simple model, really. We produce the product to the highest of standard under the regulators, and we know there's a market there for it. It's just about now, tapping into that market. What we're also looking to do is demonstrate to the NHS and the insurance companies the potential cost saving for them by using a cannabinoid for reimbursement to that patient. So we do feel that we've got a solution, having assessed the market over the past 3 years, well, nearly 4 years now, before I decided to get involved and invest. We saw some key markers, and the main one was the lack of product in the UK being produced, because there is no other people licensed apart from ourselves and GW Pharma at this stage. There are lots of other companies with R&D licenses, and it's very problematic at the moment because each and every product has to be imported. It's very costly, it's very clunky. So by being a UK producer certainly should help unlock that market. Again, LVL trial, we're being asked by the regulators, can you please give us data? We need to understand this a little bit more. And hopefully by doing that, it will help unlock that marketplace. The other one is awareness, and this is one of the reasons why CELADON decided to become a public company. We felt that we needed to just stand out a little bit more from what is being offered in the market today, i.e. the CBD guys and things like that. To be very clear, we are a pharmaceutical company that so happens to use a cannabinoid as its core product. So we are highly regulated under that pharmaceutical banner. And on the awareness side, within our facility, we've actually built a training area where we invite a number of universities, lots of doctors, to come and visit us and see how we are producing this product to the highest of standards. So in short, we are patient first. We start with the patient. We try to understand the needs of that patient, and then we work back, i.e. delivery mechanism, then we talk to regulators and doctors, and then we'll produce the product to feed into that. I felt when I looked around a lot of the other companies in Canada, etc., I felt that they were producing products just because it suited them and actually didn't really suit the market too much. So we've come at it from a completely different angle, patient first. Integrated supply chain, as I said, when we started, we felt we had to be in control of our destiny, and I'm so glad we've done that now in growing our own product and producing our own end product. Trials, I've just took you through, and then breakthrough R&D. Again, the breakthrough R&D is all around the R&D mechanism and partnering with best in class to help us on that journey. are, some of the key milestones that we've achieved since I co-founded the company in 2018. A couple of key ones there. We've done 2 acquisitions pre-IPO. We've been successful with the regulators, with Home Office and MHRA. As I said, we're one of only 2 companies that AIM have allowed onto their exchange. We were successful in that. We've raised the capital that's needed, so we have enough cash on balance sheet to help us further build out our phase 2, which is 2020, due to come online 2023. So operational milestones, we've now successfully done our 7th harvest. We've used an external auditing company to come in and audit us. We now have submitted that the results from that to the regulator, i.e. the MHRA, and we've asked them or informed them that we are now ready for an inspection from them. They've come back to us, and hopefully we'll have a date from them in October for our inspection. Once we've had that inspection, subject to that going well, we will then get our certificate, which will allow us to sell our API to the market. Please bear in mind, we've been working with the MHRA for 3 years. We've actually had 2 previous audits. So it's not a question if we will get it, it's just a question of when we will get our approvals. The other key milestone there is the LVL. As I say, we've now gone live with that program. We've informed the Ethics Committee, which is REC, that we have gone live. What Ethics Committee wanted us to do was to do 3 months data collection, then go back to them, and subject to them being happy, they will officially stamp our license and then make it where we can then go out to the market for the 5,000 patients. On that note, I'll hand you over to Alan, and he'll go through the numbers.
Good afternoon, all. Just to set the scene, if you look at the diagram on the right-hand side, you can see the group of companies. And from the top, you can see that Summerway Capital PLC was the legal acquiring entity of the Vertigo Technology Group. But from an accounting presentation perspective on consolidation under IFRS, it's effectively that Vertigo is the continuing reporting entity, and that the Topco PLC has reversed itself into Vertigo. So the numbers that you see in the financial statements are those of Vertigo continuing as a group with the addition of the PLC. In summary headlines for the 6 months ended, which is our maiden reporting period, you can see that we recorded revenue of 11,300 against a prior period of nil from our LBL study. We've got an operating loss of 2 million, which I'll come on to in more detail in a moment. We've got loss before tax and after operating losses, which is consumed by some large IPO-related non-cash and non-recurring items, which I'll come to. At the end of June, we have 9 million in cash against a prior period of 2.8, and as of yesterday, we had 7.3 million in cash on the balance sheet. Down page.
Sorry.
Looking in slightly more detail to the income statement for the 6 months ended, as I said, we've £11,300 of revenue from the LVL study. We have a gross profit loss of 12,400, as we have a mix in the patient base in LVL of some paying and some non-paying patients. We've got regular operating costs of 1.8 million, which is all of the Vertigo group with the addition coming in of the Summerway entities. We have depreciation on our plant and machinery and leasehold improvements at Vertigo to give an operating loss of just under 2 million. Below operating loss, you can see some unique items, as I would call them. We've got 6.4 million of a non-cash share-based payment charge to show the consolidation effect of the accounting of the combination. We had hard costs of 1.5 million through the income statement relating to the RTO. We've got an LTIP-based charge of 770,000. We have a lease unwind IFRS 16 charge going through the bottom of the P&L with respect to our leased property. We had convertible loan notes in the Vertigo group, which were redeemed on the RTO. So we have the final finance charge washing through the P&L. And we have a contingent consideration release relating to our investment in LVL, which nets through. You take all those items down from the 1.9 million loss before tax of 13.5 million or 25p per share. Sorry. If you come to the balance sheet and the cash flow, the top half of the balance sheet, we've got intangibles of 4.6 million, which is a combination of our right to use asset lease and some goodwill. On the tangible assets, we've got about £2 million of leasehold improvements and plant and equipment, with cash of 9.1 million. And down the bottom of the balance sheet, we've got the lease liability of 4.4 million, yielding net assets of 10.7. Looking at the headlines in the cash flow statement, number to focus in on is cash flow before working capital of 3 million. Small movement on working capital. Investing and financing is a pickup of 8.3 million. We picked up £3.5 million in cash by bringing in Someway PLC. We raised a net 7.5 in the IPO. We had a supplier loan that was paid back of 1.5 million, and we end up net cash at the end of the period of 9.1 million.
Thank you, Alan. So summary and outlook. As I hope that I've managed to demonstrate to you, we do feel that we've got the earlier mover advantage. For any potential competitor to get anywhere close to where we are, from a standing start, it would take them 2 to 3 years. And if it was a complete blank sheet or a piece of land, it will probably cost them circa 30 to 50 million. We've got a proven, experienced leadership team, not just all the board team, but actually a core team within CELADON. You can see from the numbers alone, just on chronic pain, the potential opportunity of the growth that we, in our addressable market is just incredible. And that's just one particular disease, albeit it's a wide disease, is chronic pain. And we have a very clear strategy. Having built a number of businesses over 20 plus years, I've come to learn that you've got to be very focused and very clear, otherwise you can be flip-flopping everywhere. So that's it from me. Happy to open it up to the floor for any questions.
Fantastic. James, Alan, thank you very much indeed for the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, do please continue to submit your questions using that Q&A tab just on the right-hand corner of your screen. Just while the team take a few moments to review those questions submitted already, I'd like to remind you that recording the presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. James, Alan, as you can see, we've had a number of questions from investors today, so thank you to the investors for submitting those. If I may just ask you just to click on that Q&A tab, and where appropriate to do so, just read out the question and give your response, and I'll pick up from you at the end. Thank you.
Yes, so I'll start with the first one from James. Around competition and what do we expect? And there's always a cliche that competition is good. And in actual fact, when you look at the potential scale of the UK market, I actually think we do need more competition in the UK, certainly for the benefit of the patient. So yes, there will be other companies coming, and we more than welcome that. However, if you look at the applications that have gone in and look at some of the people that are out there, there are a couple that we think will make it. I think some of the challenges they're going to have now, certainly in the current climate, is raising capital. It's all about timing. And not one of them at the moment has actually got an MHRA submission in. So having gone through what we've gone through and the process of the MHRA, i.e. the GMP, it's quite lengthy and it's quite tedious. So I hope that answers that question. The other one is to scale. What do we need to do to scale up and the full operation of production? So what we've done, as I said, I've been very methodical when I set the company up, having built lots of businesses. We've done it in stages. So we didn't say, big building, let's just raise a lot of money and go and do it all at once. We brought the facility down into 3 stages. Stage 1 is complete, fully operational. It's got a laboratory with 5 grow rooms that's producing product. Phase 2, which is the area that we are currently under construction, and that's the area that we went to the market to raise capital for. So we have capital now to finish that. Hopefully we'll fetch that online Q1 next year. We're on target to do that. And again, once that comes online, that will give us enough product for circa 9 to 10 million patients. I think that hits around about 30 million revenue. What we would like to look to do there is use that revenue to further expand into the facility. Albeit, if demand increases at a pace, it may be that we go out and raise capital to, speed up phase 3 rollout. Another question around the 90 million revenue. That is correct. However, that is a revenue that we're saying that's what we can hit at our conservative numbers of 50,000 patients. Now, in our phase 1, we're already showing that we can get more production out of one of the rooms. So hopefully that number will go up. But I think, we'll all agree 90 million revenue is an attractive number. On valuation of the 90 million, which is part of the question, is because we are in that pharmaceutical world, we actually look at multiples against pharmaceutical as opposed to the typical cannabis companies in Canada and the US. So we are operating in that pharma world, and they're the sort of multiples that we will be looking at. When do we anticipate MHRA? So, as I said, we've informed the inspector now and said we are ready for the inspection. Hopefully, we'll get that inspector out in October. That's a 3-day inspection. At the end of that, he then does his summing up. It's myself and our head of quality and our scientist guy sits there and he sums that up. And at that point, he will tell us whether everything's good or if there's any red flags. He then gives it as in writing and he gives us 21 days to respond to that, whether we agree or disagree. Typically, you try to agree to it and you come up with a solution how to turn that red flag into a green. Bear in mind, we've already had 2 inspections. This is our 3rd inspection. And we've also used an external auditor this time to come in and inspect us. And the external auditors that we've used are all ex-MHRA and Home Office inspectors. So we thought we'd be better equipped getting those in. No guarantees, but we feel we're in a very, very good position. So in answer to your question, we would like to think that we will get our license by the end of this year, but that is still subject to A, the inspector being able to visit us in time, and B, that we've got it right, that we are ready for that inspection. Existing cash one. So our existing cash, fortunately, as I say, we only IPO'd in March. We raised the capital that takes us right out to the end of next year. So the cash we raised was to help us finish phase 2 and operational cash. So as it stands today, with no more revenue, we've enough cash on balance sheet that should take us out till the end of next year.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, James Allen. You've covered every single question. Of course, if any further questions that do come through, the team will be able to review those and we can publish the responses where appropriate to do so on the Investor Meet Company platform. James, if I may, just before redirecting investors to give you their feedback, which I know is particularly important to you, if I could just ask you for a few closing comments, that'd be great.
Yeah, so what I like to try and do is think of the questions that we've been asked in the past, and is what makes us stand out different than all the other cannabis companies that are playing around in the UK market. As I said at the beginning, we are a pharmaceutical company. It just so would happen that we use a cannabinoid as our core product. So we're pharma, just like GW did. That's what we're doing. The difference from ourselves to GW, don't get me wrong, GW, trailblazers, having gone through what we've gone through in the last 3 years, I have to take my hat off to those guys. They did an amazing job. The difference with CELADON to GW, whilst they went through all the full clinical trials and it took them a lot of money, a long time, we are very fortunate that since legalization, the government legalized it as a special, which means we can actually produce a product and put it into the marketplace pretty much straight away as a special, which means we can start getting to revenue a lot sooner as we're going through these clinical trials. And again, because we are a licensed company, and since we were listed, we're starting to get a lot of inbound calls from potential partners that have done stage 1 or stage 2 clinical trials that actually wants to come under what I say our umbrella. Because it's okay doing the trials, and if they're successful, how are they going to produce the product? So they want to partner with us. So it's a fantastic opportunity. So in essence, yes, we do want to start doing those trials, but we want to partner with companies to do those trials. And as we're on that journey, we can still get to revenue under the specials framework. So it's a unique position, really, that we're in.
Fantastic, James, Alan, thank you very much. Sorry, James, I think you were going to say something
No,
else.
no, that's it. That's it. You know, just thanks for everybody coming on. Watch this space. You know, we are hitting the milestones, and more than happy to answer any questions at a later date, or, you know, even better, more than happy to invite you to the facility at some point to show you around. But please don't try and turn up, because it's a highly secure site and you will be rejected, unfortunately.
Fantastic. On that note, James, thank you very much indeed. James Allen, thank you for updating investors today. Can I please ask investors not to close the session? You'll be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order the team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, and I know is greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of CELADON Pharmaceuticals PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation. That concludes today's session, and good afternoon to you all.
Thank you again, everybody.
Thank you.